pastor, for allowing all of us to use this pulpit today. I'm Saggy Baker. Sag is in sagging, Eve is in Adam and Eve. And I will be the next and final speaker for today. So faith's first definition is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. The second definition of faith is strong belief in God or in the doctrines of a religion based on spirit apprehension rather than proof. So faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. I want to remind everyone of the story in the Bible of when the disciples were on a boat in the middle of a storm. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him, they were scared and believed it was a ghost. But Jesus said to them, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." Peter said, "Lord, if it is you, let me come out to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. Peter walked towards Jesus with his eyes on nothing but God. But when Peter's attention was diverted from his master to the buffeting winds and waves, his faith began to weaken, and he began to sink helplessly into the water. He cried out, appealing to Jesus for help.
No.
Having strong faith can help you stay afloat in life, but the distractions of this world, including your own mind, are the buffeting winds. When we believe we can or should handle things on our own, we believe we don't need to have faith because we want to handle everything alone. This is just human nature, especially for men. We believe we must handle everything alone with no help, but in reality, we need to trust God. Gaining faith isn't easy. God puts most of us through a situation that makes us call on him for help. He helps us, and that makes it easier for us to trust him in the future, therefore gaining faith. I believe the story about Jesus walking on the water and the disciples in the boat is a metaphor on life. The disciples in the boat are people who want or could start their journey with God, but are too scared or give up before even trying. They get scared of the rules, or that they will mess up, and it's just very stressful in general. They give up before even trying. Don't be like them. Don't quit before you even try. When you finally do take those first couple of steps out into the water, that's the start. That's just starting to pray and trust God will handle certain things for you. Like giving you the patience to deal with that annoying coworker, guiding you through the weeks so that you make good decisions and that won't put you in tight situations or uneven stress or drama. Then you end up thanking God, and that builds a resume on your life, helping you have more faith in him in the future. Now when Peter and or you focus, keeping your eyes on Jesus, and keep taking those steps represent every moment and trial in your life, your journey at all times. These are the things that make you closer to God. That's Peter, you, getting more of a bond with God. However, that focus must be maintained. The world around you is a bustling wind. The hard crashing waves are demons. The winds of this world are trying to distract you, avert your attention. But the wind alone isn't going to take your gaze off God. If it's windy and you're on the ground, you would pay it no mind. You wouldn't fear it, it couldn't distract you. But those waves take the wind and work with it. They make it seem like the wind is a good thing, heck, almost even better than God, and lead us astray. When you stop believing sin or believe you shouldn't rely on God, you start sinking. Only then, when it's too late, you realize how much of a mistake you made. But isn't it a good thing they say, isn't it great that he's 40 years late, but he's still on time? Amen. If you notice, Peter starts to sink and he calls out, "Jesus." And it states in Matthew chapter 14, verse 31, that Jesus reached out his hand and pulled Peter up and said unto him, "O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt?" And when they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased. I believe the ship is a metaphor for prayer. And when Peter failed in his walk to God, when he fell, he returned with him to the boat. When we fall or are in a low state, we mostly start to pray too. When we first start building a relationship with someone, you talk to them. You say prayer is a mighty weapon. And it is. It makes the devil scared. You start talking to God and the blessings come. The outstretched hand of God brings you up and guides you to safety. Prayer really builds that relationship. It bonds you with God. Prayer is talking to God as another person. With respect, of course. Don't go bring that back in class. Prayer is another sign of faith. As you wouldn't pray if you believed there was nothing out there. Now you may be wondering, what's a deed? How do you know this? Well, I have a personal experience to share. So for a while, I dreaded praying. I didn't believe it worked. My mom would tell me to go pray. I would just say, okay, and then skip it. I believed there was no point in praying to God. I felt like it was just wasting time that I could be using to do things I actually enjoy. So during the school year, well, You actually have one more full week left, but either way, it's basically over. But anyway, this year I got into an incident, and it was looking like I was going to get into another fight. However, the reason we were going to fight was ridiculous. In school, news spreads like wildfire. I had so many people coming up to me, friends, mutual friends, acquaintances, etc. They would come to me, they'd ask for the story, and I would tell them. And once I was done, they would always say their opinion, what they would do. They would tell me to run, they would tell me to fight. I didn't want to fight, but I didn't want to run either. This kid was considerably shorter than me, so I wasn't afraid of doing what had to be done if it came to it.
Yeah, talk that talk. Let's go.
But the reason was so dumb that even if I did win or lose, it wouldn't be worth getting suspended. So the entire night, the day before the day of the fight, that was most likely was going to happen, I thought of any way to get out of my situation, or at least make it honorable. But I couldn't. So I just gave up, accepted fate, put on the video game, and decided to do what had to be done the next day. Eventually, around 11 o'clock p.m., my brother was sleeping, and I was still up. So my mom called me and told me, pray and go to sleep. For once, praying didn't seem like a bad idea. I had nothing to lose. So I prayed, and right when I was done, a song that had been coming into my head for the past 2 weeks came back. It was Redeemed by Big Daddy Weave. So right before I went to bed, I played it, and around the 5th or 6th line, it states, "And you look at this prisoner and say to me, son, stop fighting a fight that's already been won." And those words jumped out and hit me so hard that I started to cry. I went to school the next day. I walked past the boy. He glanced at me, then looked away. I guess God wanted to reassure me that it wasn't a fluke, because it happened multiple more times that day. The entire time I was stressing about my situation, 2 weeks before, God had already handled the entire thing. He just needed me to call for his help, to pray. Today, I'm asking you guys not to be like the disciples in the boat, not to give up without even trying, but to take those first couple of steps, pray, and renew your faith. Thank you.